The galaxy thought humans were weak. Every species in the coalition believed this simple truth. Humans smiled too much. They bowed too often. They forgave too easily. For 60 years, humanity had been part of the Great Galactic Coalition. And for 60 years, they had never once raised their weapons in anger. Admiral Kong Tae stood at the window of his office, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes, but those eyes held secrets that would terrify the entire galaxy if anyone knew the truth. His communicator beeped. "Admiral, the ambassador is returning from the coalition chamber. How did it go?" Tae already knew the answer. Velrath laughed at her again. "Sir." They spit on the floor when she finished speaking. Tae closed his eyes. Another insult. Another mark in the book that humanity had been keeping for 6 decades. "Tell her I want to speak with her when she arrives." 3 hours later, Ambassador Yoon Hana walked into his office. She was a small woman with a gentle face and soft voice. The aliens called her the Quiet One and thought her kindness meant she was powerless. They were wrong about many things, but they were most wrong about Hannah. "They killed 12,000 people on the farming colony," Hannah said. Sitting down across from Tae, 12,000 farmers, families, children, and when I asked for justice, they laughed. "I know. The Velroth ambassador told me that humans taste good when properly cooked." He said this while smiling. The other species in the chamber did nothing. Some of them laughed too. Tae poured her a cup of tea. His hands were steady, but inside, his heart burned with cold fire. "Did you respond?" I smiled and bowed, just like always. I told them Earth hoped for peaceful resolution. I said we believed in diplomacy and understanding. Hana took the tea but did not drink. I have said these words so many times that they feel like ash in my mouth. "I know, old friend." "I know." Hannah looked at him with eyes that had seen too much suffering. "How much longer, Tae? How many more of our people must die while we pretend to be weak?" This was the question that haunted every human who knew the truth. For 60 years, Earth had hidden its true power. When humanity first joined the coalition, they quickly realized a terrible truth. The galaxy was ruled by strength. The strong species conquered the weak. War was constant, slavery was common, and mercy was seen as stupidity. Earth's leaders made a choice. They would hide their technology. They would pretend to be a minor species with little military power. They would smile and bow and accept insults, all while building something in secret. Project Silence had begun on the day humanity joined the coalition. In hidden shipyards behind Earth's moon, in secret facilities on distant asteroids, humanity built a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that could appear from nowhere. Weapons that could pass through any shield. Soldiers trained since childhood for a war they hoped would never come. "The council meets tomorrow," Tae said quietly. "We will discuss the timeline as the Velroth grow bolder each month. They have started taking slaves from our outer colonies. They work our people to death in their mines." Hannah's voice cracked slightly. "I met a woman last year who escaped from their labor camps. She told me what they do to human prisoners. I still have nightmares about her stories." Tae nodded slowly. "Every death is recorded. Every name is remembered. When the time comes, there will be an accounting." On the diplomatic cruiser Olive Branch, Captain Park Jin was reviewing the latest intelligence reports. He was young for a captain, only 32, but he had been chosen for this position because of his unique abilities. Jin could look at any tactical situation and see the perfect solution within seconds. His mind processed battle strategies like other people breathed air, and yet, for his entire career, he had pretended to command a simple diplomatic vessel with minimal weapons. Lieutenant Baesu entered his office. She was his communications officer, a brilliant woman who spoke 14 alien languages fluently. "Captain, we have intercepted Velroth military communications. They are planning another raid." "Where?" "The colony on New Busan. 30,000 civilians." Jin's jaw tightened. "When?" 3 weeks. 3 weeks. 30,000 people who would die or become slaves unless something changed. Jin looked at the weapons console hidden behind a false wall in his office. The olive branch carried enough firepower to destroy the entire Velrath raiding fleet. He could save those people with a single order, but his orders were clear. Wait, pretend. Let them believe we are weak. Forward the intelligence to Earth Command, Jin said, his voice flat. Continue monitoring. Sue hesitated at the door. Sir, my sister lives on New Busan. She has 2 children. Jin met her eyes. He saw fear there, and pain, and the desperate hope that he would do something. I know, Lieutenant. Get your family off that colony. Tell them to take a vacation to Earth. Do it quietly, sir. Do it now, Sue. That is an order. She nodded and left quickly. Jin turned back to his window and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velrath were laughing at humanity. Somewhere out there, aliens were making jokes about weak humans and their foolish diplomacy. They did not know that every joke was heard. Every insult was recorded. Every death added weight to a scale that was almost ready to tip in her quarters on the olive branch. Ambassador Hannah opened a secure channel to Earth. Her face was calm, but her words carried the weight of 60 years of patience. They refused again. They laughed and spit and promised more violence. How much longer must we wait? A voice responded from the darkness between stars. It was old and tired and filled with terrible purpose. Not much longer now. The fleet is nearly ready. The soldiers are trained. We have given them every chance to choose peace. If they refuse again... The voice paused. When it spoke again, there was no kindness left in it. Then we stopped pretending to be courteous. Hannah closed the channel and sat alone in the darkness. Outside her window, the stars burned cold and bright. They had no idea what was coming. None of them did, but they would learn. Very soon they would all learn. 3 months passed after the farming colony massacre. The Velrath did not stop their attacks. They grew bolder with each passing week. They raided human ships in open space. They took prisoners from civilian transports. They broadcast messages across the galaxy mocking human. Weakness and humanity continued to smile and bow, beg for peace. The other species in the coalition watched with amusement. They had a name for humans now. They called them the Bowing Ones because Earth's diplomats always bowed when insulted. It was a joke that spread across 1,000 worlds. Even species that had never met a human knew the joke. Captain Park Jin stood on the bridge of the olive branch as it traveled through. Neutral space. Ambassador Hannah was aboard, returning from another failed diplomatic mission. The Velrath had demanded she come to their territory to discuss peace. Everyone knew it was a trap, but Earth sent her anyway. Captain, Lieutenant Sue said from her station, I am detecting Velroth warships. 6 of them, approaching fast. Jin's eyes moved to the tactical display. 6 heavy cruisers, more than enough firepower to destroy the olive branch 10 times over. Or at least, that was what the Velrath believed. Ray shields. Send a distress signal to the Coalition Patrol. Sir, the Coalition Patrol is 4 hours away? I know. Send it anyway. The Velrath ships surrounded them within minutes. Their weapons locked onto the olive branch, and a communication signal demanded their surrender. Jin opened the channel. A Velroth commander appeared on screen. He was a tall reptilian creature with scales the color of dried blood and teeth like broken glass. Human vessel, you will lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Jin kept his voice calm. We are a diplomatic ship under Coalition protection. This attack violates 17 different treaties. The Velroth commander laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks grinding together. Treaties are for species that can enforce them. You cannot. Lower your shields. Behind Jin, his weapons officer sat with hands hovering over the hidden controls. The true weapons of the olive branch could destroy all 6 Velrath ships in approximately 4 seconds. Jin felt the weight of that knowledge pressing against his chest, but his orders were clear. Not yet. Hold. We are lowering shields, Jin said. The Velrath boarded the ship with brutal efficiency. They moved through the corridors, hitting any human they saw, laughing at their fear. They rounded up the crew and forced them to kneel in the main cargo bay. Ambassador Hannah was dragged before the Velrath commander. He grabbed her face and forced her to look at him, the famous human diplomat. You came to our space to beg for peace. How pathetic your species is. Hannah said nothing. Her eyes were calm, empty of fear. This confused the Velrath commander, but he did not think about it for long. Take her to my ship. She will make an excellent trophy. The humans will pay much to get her back. As they dragged her away, Hannah looked back at Jin. Their eyes met for just a moment. In that look, Jin saw her message clearly. Remember everything. Remember every face. When the time comes, there must be justice. A young translator named Kim Yin tried to stop them from taking Hannah. She was only 22 years old. Fresh from the diplomatic academy, full of hope that words could change the galaxy, a Velrath soldier shot her without hesitation. Yan fell, and her blood spread across the floor of the ship she had served with such dedication. Jin watched her die. He watched and did nothing because his orders demanded it. The Velrath laughed at the dead girl and stepped over her, body like it was garbage. After the Velrath left with their prisoners, Jin stood alone on his damaged bridge. His crew was tending to the wounded. 47 dead. 300 taken as prisoners. And Ambassador Hannah, the kindest woman Jin had ever known, was now in enemy hands. He opened a secure channel to Earth. His voice was steady, but something had broken inside him. This is Captain Park Jin of the Olive Branch. We have been attacked. Ambassador Hannah has been captured. I am requesting permission to respond with full force. The reply came from Admiral Kang Tae himself. Permission denied, Captain. Maintain cover. Admiral, with respect, they killed Kim Yen. She was 22. She wanted to bring peace to the galaxy. There was silence on the channel. Then Tae spoke again, and his voice was heavy with shared pain. I know, Jin. I know. But we cannot act yet. The fleet is almost ready. Just a little longer. How much longer must we watch our people die? Soon, Captain. I promise you, it will be soon. 3 days later, the Velrath broadcast a video across the entire galaxy. It showed Ambassador Hannah in chains, being paraded through their capital city. Crowds of Velrath threw garbage at her. Their children spat on her. The video ended with a message from the Velrath Emperor himself. This is what happens to species who are weak. Humanity has no power. They have no strength. They send their diplomats to beg, and we take them as pets. Any species thinking of following Earth's example should watch this video carefully. Weakness is death. Only strength matters. On Earth, the Council of Shadows gathered in their bunker beneath the ocean. These were the true leaders of humanity. Presidents and generals and scientists who had kept the secret for 60 years. Dr. Choi Minji, chief scientist of Project Silence, presented her final report. The fleet is complete. 4,000 dreadnoughts, 50,000 destroyers, 100,000 fighters. Our weapons operate on principles the Coalition has not discovered. Their shields cannot stop us. Their sensors cannot see us. General O.C. Oak added his assessment. Our soldiers are ready. They have trained for this day since they were children. Give the order, and we will free every human slave in the galaxy within 1 week. Admiral Kang Tae looked around the table. He saw the same fire in every pair of eyes. 60 years of patience had finally reached its end. We gave them every chance, Tae said quietly. We begged them to be better. We showed them mercy they did not deserve. And they responded by laughing at our dead children. He pressed his hand against the table's surface. A holographic display appeared, showing the entire galaxy. Thousands of small lights represented the hidden human fleet, positioned at strategic points across known space. Wake the fleet, Tae ordered. It is time to stop being courteous. Across the galaxy, in hidden spaces between stars, 4,000 human dreadnoughts came to life. 50,000 destroyers powered their engines. 100,000 fighters prepared for launch. The Velrath continued celebrating their victory over the weak humans. They had no idea that their entire civilization had only hours left to exist. The bowing ones were about to stand up. The Coalition capital station floated in the center of the galaxy like a giant silver flower. It was the largest structure ever built, home to diplomats and leaders from every known species. Today, every important alien in the galaxy had gathered in its great chamber. They'd come to witness humanity's final humiliation, the Velroth. Emperor sat on a throne brought especially for this occasion. He was massive, even for his species, with scales that shone like polished metal and eyes that burned with cruel intelligence. Around him stood his generals and advisors, all wearing ceremonial armor decorated with human bones. Representatives from 100 other species filled the chamber. Some had come because the Velrath demanded their presence. Others had come because they wanted to see the joke for themselves. The weak humans were going to surrender. It would be entertainment. The time for the ceremony arrived. Everyone looked toward the main entrance, expecting a sad group of human diplomats carrying surrender documents. Instead, the lights in the chamber flickered. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, projected from a source no one could identify. The hologram showed a human man. He was older, with gray hair and a calm face. He wore a uniform that no one recognized, black with silver stars on the shoulders. Admiral Kong Tae looked at the assembled aliens with eyes that held no fear. No submission, no weakness. He looked at them the way a teacher looks at children who have misbehaved badly. "My name is Admiral Kong Tae of the United Earth Defense Force. I have a message for this assembly. And for the Valrath Empire in particular." The Valrath Emperor laughed loudly. "Where is our surrender? Where are your diplomats with their bowing and begging? We did not come here to listen to some human soldier pretend to have authority." Tae continued as if the Emperor had not spoken. His voice was quiet, but it filled every corner of the massive chamber. For 60 years, humanity has been part of this coalition. For 60 years, we have tried to be good neighbors. We offered friendship. We shared our art and our music. We traded fairly and kept our promises. We believed that the galaxy could be a place of peace. Several aliens exchanged confused looks. This was not how humans usually spoke. When the Velrath began raiding our colonies, we protested through proper channels. When they took our people as slaves, we asked for justice. When they murdered our children, we begged for mercy. Not for ourselves. For you. We begged you to stop because we knew what would happen if you continued. The Velrath Emperor stood from his throne. "Enough of this nonsense. Where is your surrender? Bring me your ambassador in chains, and perhaps I will let some of your world survive." Tae finally looked directly at the Emperor. Something changed in his eyes. The calm patience disappeared, replaced by something cold and terrible. "You have Ambassador Yoon Hannah. You paraded her through your streets like an animal. You let your children spit on her." Tae's voice dropped lower. "She is the kindest person I have ever known. She genuinely believed that your species could learn to be better. Even after everything you did, she hoped for peace." "She was a fool," the Emperor said. "Just like all humans. Perhaps, but she was our fool. And you hurt her." Tae straightened his shoulders. "This is Earth's final message to the Velrath Empire, and a warning to every species in this room. You have 1 hour to meet the following demands." The chamber fell silent. Even the Velrath Emperor stopped laughing. "First, you will release Ambassador Hannah and every other human prisoner immediately. Second, you will surrender every officer responsible for attacks on human civilians. Third, you will pay reparations for every human life lost to your aggression." The Emperor recovered his voice. "And if we refuse, what will you do? Send more diplomats to bow at us?" Admiral Tae smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "If you refuse, we stop pretending to be courteous. You threaten us." "With what army? Your defense force has 30 ships. We have 30,000. Look outside your window." The words were simple, spoken calmly, but they carried a weight that made several aliens shiver. Slowly, every person in the chamber turned toward the massive viewport that showed the space. Around the station, what they saw would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Where there had been empty space moments before, Now there were ships. Thousands of ships. They appeared from nowhere, materializing like ghosts from the darkness between stars. Each ship was larger than anything the Coalition had ever built. They surrounded the station completely, blocking out the stars. More ships kept appearing. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and behind them, barely visible against the black of space. Shapes so massive, they made the other ships look like toys. Dreadnoughts. Ships that could destroy planets. The chamber erupted in panic. Aliens screamed and ran for the exits. The Velrath generals drew their weapons, but there was nothing to shoot at. The human fleet was outside, got no weapons on the station could scratch their shields. Only the Velrath Emperor remained still. He stared at the viewport with an expression that slowly changed from disbelief to fear to something close to terror. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Where did these ships come from? How did we not see them?" Admiral Tay's hologram answered calmly. "We built them in secret. For 60 years, we smiled and bowed while constructing the most powerful military force this galaxy has ever seen. Every time you insulted us, we added another ship. Every time you killed our people, we added another weapon. You gave us 60 years to prepare, Emperor. We used every single day. You tricked us. You've pretended to be weak. We gave you every chance to be peaceful. Every single chance. We wanted to be your friends. We wanted to build a better galaxy together." Tay's voice hardened. "You chose differently, and now you will face the consequences." The Emperor's scales had turned pale. His generals stood frozen around him. For the first time in his life, he understood what prey animals felt when they saw a predator. "You have 1 hour," Tay repeated. "Release our people. Surrender your war criminals. Accept responsibility for your actions. Do this, and we will show you the same mercy you showed us." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Tay looked at the Emperor with eyes that held 60 years of buried rage. "Then we will show you what humans do when they stop being courteous. And Emperor, I promise you this. You will wish we had remained the bowing ones." The hologram disappeared. In the silence that followed, every alien in the chamber stared at the viewport. The human ships hung in space like a judgment from ancient gods. Their weapons were armed. Their shields were raised. They were ready. The Velroth Emperor had 1 hour to decide the fate of his empire. The clock began to tick. The Velrath Emperor refused. He stood in the Coalition chamber and declared that humans were bluffing. "The ships outside were fake," he said. "Tricks of light and technology. The weak humans could never build such a fleet. It was impossible." He ordered his military to attack. Across the galaxy, Velrath warships received the command. 300 vessels around the Coalition station opened fire on the human fleet. 10,000 more ships stationed throughout Velrath. Space prepared for battle. The attack on the human fleet lasted exactly 4 seconds. Human ships did not fight like anything the galaxy had seen before. They did not dodge or maneuver. They simply stopped existing in one place and appeared in another. Velrath weapons passed through empty space, where targets had been moments before. Then the humans fired back. Their weapons made no sound, produced no visible beams or missiles. One moment, a Velrath cruiser existed. The next moment, it was gone. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply gone, as if it had never been built at all. 300 Velrath ships vanished in 4 seconds. The remaining Velrath forces tried to flee. They activated their fastest engines and ran for the safety of their home territory. They did not make it far. Human ships appeared in front of them, behind them, beside them. There was no escape. There was nowhere to run. The humans were everywhere. Commander Biko led Phantom Squadron through the chaos. His ship was small, designed for speed and precision rather than heavy combat. His mission was not to destroy the enemy fleet. That job belonged to the dreadnoughts. His mission was to rescue prisoners. "All units, this is Phantom Leader. Target the slave transports. Disable their engines, but do not destroy them. There are humans on board." His squadron moved like ghosts through the battle. They slipped past Velrath warships that never saw them coming. They reached the transport ships, and fired precise shots that killed engines without harming anyone inside. On the slave world of Torix 4, a different kind of battle was beginning. Sergeant Mayun materialized inside the main mining complex with her squad. Their armor made them invisible to Velrath sensors. Their weapons made no noise. They moved through the facility like shadows, eliminating guards before anyone could raise an alarm. EUN had seen the reports about what happened in these mines. Humans worked 18-hour shifts in toxic conditions. They received barely enough food to survive. Those who slowed down were killed as examples to the others. She had studied the files until she memorized every detail. Now she was here to end it. Her squad reached the main prisoner holding area. Through the reinforced door, she could hear sounds, crying, coughing, the shuffle of hundreds of feet on stone floors. "Breach on my mark," Yoon ordered. "Remember, these people have been through hell. Be gentle." The door exploded inward. Yoon stepped through the smoke with her weapon raised, expecting guards. There were no guards. They had already fled when the alarm reached them. All that remained were the prisoners. EUN stopped moving. Her training had prepared her for combat, for violence, for death. Nothing had prepared her for this. Hundreds of humans filled the holding area. They were thin, so thin that their bones showed through their skin. Their clothes were rags. Many had wounds that had never been treated properly. They looked at Yoon with eyes that had forgotten how to hope. She removed her helmet so they could see her face. So they could see that she was human, that she was crying, that help had finally come. "My name is Sergeant Mayun of the Earth Liberation Force. We are here to take you home." No one moved. No one spoke. They had been told so many lies by their captors. They had been promised rescue before, only to be punished when they believed. An old man stepped forward. He could barely walk. His hand shook as he reached toward Yoon. "Is this real?" he asked. His voice was rough from years of breathing toxic air. "Are you really from Earth?" "Yes, we are real. We came for you. They told us Earth abandoned us. They said no one was coming. They said we would die here." Yoon took the old man's hand gently. She looked into his eyes and spoke clearly so everyone could hear. "We never forgot you. Not for one single day. For 60 years, Earth has been preparing for this moment. Everything we built to save you. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. All of it was for this day." The old man began to cry. He fell to his knees and pressed his forehead against her hand. "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." Around the room, other prisoners began to understand. Some screamed with joy. Some collapsed in relief. Some simply stood still, unable to process that their nightmare was ending. EUN helped the old man to his feet. "Can you walk?" "I will crawl if I have to. I will do anything to leave this place." "You will not need to crawl. We have medical ships waiting. We have food and water and doctors. We have everything you need." She turned to her squad. "Begin evacuation. Priority to the wounded and the children. Move quickly, but carefully. These people have suffered enough." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on every Velrath slave world. Human soldiers appeared from nowhere and liberated every prison, every mine, every labor camp. They found tens of thousands of humans who had been given up for dead. Not all the rescues went smoothly. On some worlds, Velrath guards fought back. On others, they tried to kill the prisoners rather than let them be freed. Human soldiers died protecting people they had never met. But they kept fighting. They kept saving. They did not stop until every human slave was free. Back at the Coalition station, the battle was already over. The Velrath fleet was destroyed. Their emperor stood in the Great Chamber, surrounded by human soldiers who had appeared inside the station without warning. Admiral Kung Tae entered the room. He walked slowly, looking at the destruction around him. Velrath bodies lay on the floor. Their generals had tried to fight and learned that human soldiers were as deadly as human ships. The emperor stood alone, his ceremonial armor dented and dirty. All his pride was gone. All his arrogance had melted away. "How?" he asked as Tae approached. How did you do this? How did you hide so much power? Tay stopped in front of him. We did not hide our power, Emperor. We controlled it. There is a difference. You could have destroyed us at any time. Why did you wait? Because we wanted you to choose peace. We wanted to believe that you could be better than you are. We gave you 60 years of chances. Tay's voice carried the weight of every insult, every death, every tear that humanity had shed. You used those chances to hurt us. Again and again, you chose cruelty. The Emperor had no response. The Velrath Empire is finished, Tay continued. Not destroyed. We are not monsters like you, but your military's gone. Your leaders will face trial for their crimes. Your people will learn what happens when you build a civilization on slavery and murder. What will happen to us? Tay turned away. You will have a chance to become better. Whether you take that chance is up to you. He walked out of the chamber, leaving the broken Emperor behind. Somewhere in the chaos, Ambassador Yun Hana was being carried from her prison cell. She was weak and injured, but she was alive. When she saw the human soldiers around her, she smiled for the first time in weeks. You came, she whispered. Of course we came, the soldier carrying her replied. We always come for our people, always. The war lasted less than one day. The cleanup would take much longer. But as the sun set on the Velrath Empire, humanity stood tall for the first time in 60 years. The bowing ones had risen. 1 month had passed since the fall of the Velrath Empire. The galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. How had the weak humans defeated the strongest military power in known space? How had they hidden such power for so long? And most importantly, what would they do with that power now? Every species sent representatives to the Coalition capital station. The chamber that had witnessed humanity's ultimatum was now filled with terrified aliens waiting to learn their fate. Many believed the humans would demand surrender. Some feared they would face the same destruction as the Velrath. Ambassador Yun Hana walked into the chamber slowly. She had not fully recovered from her imprisonment. Her body was thin, and her movements were careful. But her eyes were clear, and her voice was strong. Admiral Kangte walked beside her. He wore the same black uniform with silver stars, but now the entire galaxy knew what those stars meant. He was not a ceremonial leader. He commanded the most powerful military force ever assembled. Together, they took their place at the center of the chamber. Every eye watched them. Every breath was held. Hannah spoke first. I want to begin by thanking everyone for coming. I know many of you are afraid. I know you have questions about what Earth intends to do now that our true capabilities are known. She paused, looking around the room at the hundreds of alien faces. Let me address your fear directly. We could destroy every fleet in this room. We could conquer every world in this galaxy. Our weapons are beyond anything you have imagined. Our soldiers have trained for this for 60 years. If we wanted to rule through force, no one could stop us. The silence in the chamber became absolute. Many aliens looked ready to run, but we will not do this, because that was never who we wanted to be. Hannah's voice softened. When humanity first reached the stars, we were so excited to meet other species. We dreamed of friendship and cooperation. We imagined a galaxy united in peace, where different species worked together to solve problems and create wonders. What we found instead was a galaxy ruled by fear. Strong species dominated weak ones. War was constant. Slavery was accepted. Mercy was seen as stupidity. She shook her head slowly. We could not accept this. We refused to believe that this was the only way intelligent beings could exist together. So we made a choice. We would hide our strength and give the galaxy a chance to prove us wrong. For 60 years, we waited. We hoped that species like the Velrath would choose peace. We believed that kindness could inspire kindness. We wanted so badly to be wrong about the galaxy. Her voice hardened slightly. We were not wrong. The Velrath proved that. They saw our kindness as weakness. They saw our patience as stupidity. They murdered our people and laughed while doing it. But here's what I need you all to understand. We did not show mercy because we had no other choice. We showed mercy because we chose to. Our courtesy was always a gift we offered freely. and gifts can be taken back. Admiral Tay stepped forward. The Velreth Empire no longer exists as a military power. Their fleets are gone. Their leaders are facing trial for crimes against humanity. Their people are being supervised as they rebuild a civilization not based on slavery and murder. We did not destroy them. We are not interested in revenge or genocide, but we will not tolerate species that prey on the weak and innocent. He looked around the chamber with eyes that had seen too much. Suffering. Earth offers the same thing we always offered: friendship, trade, cultural exchange, mutual protection. We will help any world that needs assistance. We will share our technology with species that prove they can use it responsibly. We will defend anyone facing unjust aggression. But understand this clearly: we are not the bowing ones anymore. We do not beg for peace. We do not accept insults quietly. We do not let our people be taken as slaves. His voice dropped lower, carrying a warning that every alien felt in their bones. Attack humanity and we will respond. Enslave our people and we will come for them. Mock our dead, threaten our children, hurt our friends. He paused. And you will discover that our courtesy was the only thing protecting you from what we are truly capable of. Hannah stepped forward again, her gentle face carrying a message as powerful as any threat. We would rather be your friends. We would rather build hospitals and schools together than fight wars. We would rather share poetry and music than weapons and tactics. This is what humanity truly wants. What if you force us to be your nightmares instead of your friends? She smiled. It was a warm smile, but every alien in the room felt a chill run through them. We are very, very good at that too. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the representative from a small species at the back of the room stood up. We wish to formally ally with Earth, she said. Her voice trembled, but she continued speaking. Our world has been threatened by larger species for generations. We have lived in fear for centuries. If Earth will protect us, we will be proud to call humanity our friends. Another representative stood, then another, then dozens more. Within an hour, half the species in the galaxy had requested alliance with Earth. Not because they were forced, not because they were afraid, but because they finally saw what humanity had been offering all along: protection for the weak, justice for the oppressed, hope for those who had none. 10 years later, Admiral Kung Tae sat in his garden in the coastal city of Busan. He was old now, retired from active service. His grandchildren played nearby, chasing butterflies and laughing in the summer sun. A young reporter sat across from him, asking questions for a historical documentary. Do you regret the deception? 60 years of pretending to be weak. Tae watched a butterfly land on his granddaughter's finger. She giggled with delight, and he smiled. No, we gave them a chance to be good. We gave them every opportunity to choose peace. That was worth the cost. That was worth everything. And when they refused, when the Valrath kept attacking, Tae was silent for a moment. His eyes grew distant, remembering battles and suffering and the faces of people he could not save. Then we showed them what courtesy truly costs. We showed them that kindness is a choice, not a weakness. And we showed them that some choices once made cannot be unmade. The reporter asked one final question. What do you want people to remember about that time? What lesson should the galaxy take from what happened? Tae thought for a long moment. When he answered, his voice was quiet but certain. I want them to remember that humans are kind because we want to be, not because we have to be. Our gentleness is a gift we offer to the universe. It is the best part of who we are. But I also want them to remember what happens when that gift is rejected. When you take kindness and throw it back in someone's face. When you hurt people who only wanted to be your friends. He looked at the reporter with eyes that still held echoes of old fire. I want them to remember that the most dangerous creature is not the one that roars and threatens. It is the one that smiles while you test its patience. The one that keeps offering peace while you make war. The one that waits and watches and hopes you will choose to be better. Because when that creature finally stops smiling, when it finally stops hoping, when it finally decides that courtesy has failed, He stood up slowly and walked to where his grandchildren were playing. He knelt down and helped his granddaughter catch another butterfly. Then you will wish with all your heart that you had never tested its patience at all. In the garden, surrounded by family and peace and the simple joys of a life well lived, the old admiral smiled. Not the terrible smile he had shown the Velrath, a real smile, a gentle smile. The smile of a man who had helped give humanity its place among the stars and across the galaxy. On 1,000 different worlds, the story of Earth's last ultimatum was told and retold. It became a legend, a warning, a promise. Be kind to the humans. Be their friends. Work with them, trade with them, celebrate with them, but never, ever. Make them stop being courteous, because you really do not want to find out what happens next.